Channel 5's Action News with George McKenzie and the Action News team.
Good evening, I'm George McKenzie. Bob Howick has the night off. President Carter made a major foreign policy speech tonight in Washington, announcing a new era of relations with mainland China. The president said the United States will extend full diplomatic recognition to the mainland Chinese on January 1st, 1979, that the two countries will exchange ambassadors and open embassies on March 1st, 1979, and the Chinese Vice Premier Deng Xiaoping has accepted an invitation to visit Washington. During his address, President Carter explained why the change in policy toward the Chinese.
Normalization can beneficially affect the world in which we live and the world in...
What will happen to Taiwan or nationalist China now? Well, as of tonight, the United States recognizes Peking as the sole legal government of China. A defense treaty between Washington and Taiwan, in effect, will come to an end in about a year, and U.S. troops will be pulled out within 4 months. But the president stressed that cultural, commercial, and other unofficial relations with Taiwan will continue. That announcement by President Carter tonight, a matter of staggering importance in modern United States diplomatic history. Meanwhile, relations with Israel have taken a decided turn for the worse. As Secretary of State Vance returned from the Mideast today, Israel sharply criticized the U.S. for siding with Egypt. Vance had taken the Israelis a proposal from Cairo that they turned down flat, prompting President Carter to say a few days ago that he thought the Israelis were being too inflexible. Israel replied by saying, in effect, it would just have to get along without U.S. help if necessary. As for that peace treaty, well, no new moves are likely until after the first of the year, when things have cooled down just a bit. Elsewhere in the Middle East today, ministers from the oil-producing and exporting countries are meeting, and that means a price hike is probably coming. In fact, what they're arguing about is how much to raise prices. Some say 20% would be about right, but others, like Saudi Arabia, will settle for less than half that. And as you watch the sheiks and emirs gather in a first-class hotel, chauffeured there in fancy new cars, you might be asking yourself just why they need a price increase.
Have any other wealth besides the oil? We have only desert and sea. We have to get chance of this opportunity by creating other sources of income which will stay much longer when the oil will run off.
The OPEC ministers have announced a press conference for Sunday afternoon, and that's probably when we'll be getting the bad news. What the sheiks have already, money that is, and lots of it, is just what the city of Cleveland needs tonight. At midnight, Cleveland is due to default on about $15 million worth of loans. Today, the mayor and the city council went round and round trying to come up with some kind of plan to raise the money, but at last word, no agreement or any kind of a plan had been reached. Ohio Governor James Rhodes said today he doesn't think the Ohio legislature will let Cleveland go bankrupt, but so far, he hasn't come up with a workable plan to save the city either. Former Florida Insurance Commissioner Thomas O'Malley was convicted of fraud and extortion today by a federal court in Miami. O'Malley apparently used his cabinet office to bilk money from insurance company representatives. Sentencing will be postponed until another investigation is complete. The mayor of Sunrise, John Lomello, has been indicted on 2 misdemeanor charges by the Broward County jury. The probe stems from a fight in a bar. A patron claims the mayor slugged him during that fight. There have been an awful lot, many traffic accidents around Palm Beach County this evening. This one at 58th and Broadway in West Palm Beach claimed the life of an elderly Lake Worth woman. 80-year-old Marion Rex was riding with her husband George. They somehow collided with a car driven by a Juneau man. Police aren't releasing details of the crash, but Mrs. Rex was treated on the scene by fire medics, rushed to St. Mary's Hospital, and she died there just a short time later. The victim's husband suffered minor injuries and is still being treated at the hospital. An investigation into the accident continues. Charges right now are pending. The Russian flu has hit several areas of the country, and Palm Beach County might be one of them. Lisa Brown has that story.
Here at the Boca Academy, teachers have been lecturing to plenty of empty chairs. Lisa Brown, Action News.
State Task Force in Tallahassee wants to give students who fail the functional literacy test one more year to try again. They voted to ask the state legislature to postpone the current deadline of June of next year, and if the legislature agrees, the failing students would receive a certificate of completion in the meantime. Some new airlines are moving into Palm Beach International, and an old airplane has been getting a lot of use lately by drug smugglers. Those stories and more still to come on Action News. Sheriff's detectives are still trying to find out who owns an old cargo plane they found in a Belglade sugar field yesterday. They think the DC-3 was loaded with about 5 tons of pot, all of which was unloaded by the time they found it. The plane was probably left there because it couldn't get through the sugar stocks to take off again. They're trying to trace the owner right now, but they haven't had any luck so far. Planes like that one, the DC-3, have been in the news a lot lately. Fact is, drug smugglers just love to get their hands on them. Frank Verdell tells us why.
Back during World War II, these planes were a valuable asset to the Americans. They carried men and equipment.
Frank Verdell, Action News.
4 new airlines are scheduled to begin regular service at Palm Beach International Airport this weekend. Braniff, Allegheny, North Central, and Shawnee set up their facilities earlier this week, sharing the already crowded counter space with United, Mackey, and National. More parking space, gates, and a terminal area to accommodate the new lines are planned for the next 2 years. One of Palm Beach International Airport's largest businesses is being sold. The Tilford Flying Center will be bought by Beckett Aviation, which is one of the country's largest general aviation companies. Tilford's been in operation since 1960 when it was founded by Jim Tilford. About 2 years ago, it was bought by a man named Pete Benoit, who says the sale has been agreed to in principle, should be finalized in January. Sale price, of course, wasn't disclosed. And when we come back, target practice. Don't go away.
Vista del Lago.
Some members of the Florida Highway Patrol got a chance to sharpen their skills today. Troopers stationed in the Palm Beach County area were on the firing line trying to qualify with a handgun. It's a requirement for the Highway Patrol every 6 months. Lately, their sidearms have become a big part of their lives. A Dade County officer, you'll remember, was gunned down a couple of months ago. More recently, a Palm Beach trooper was wounded trying to apprehend a speeder. Bob Howick talked with Sergeant Bill Stringfield and asked if the men think more about those things lately.
Well, certainly they think about them. It all happens.
Sergeant Stringfield noted every trooper hopes he never has to use that weapon, but he'd better know how, should the need ever arise. New World's record is going to be set tomorrow in Lake Worth. For the last week or so, 300 people have been participating in a round-the-clock CPR marathon. CPR, or cardiopulmonary resuscitation, is that emergency procedure used to save the lives of heart attack victims. Tomorrow at 2 o'clock at the band shell in Bryant Park, they'll pass the current mark, and they'll earn themselves a place in the Guinness Book of World Records. And if you looked up in the sky around 7:20 this evening, kind of northward out over the ocean, you probably saw something pretty strange. Glenn Burns is here to tell us what that was. Glenn?
Well, George, that was the last rocket launch of the year. It took place tonight at 7:21 at the Kennedy Space Center.
He has been on the injured reserve list ever since. George, your North Stars are really coming back strong, aren't they?
Did well, yeah. Did well for a change. It's been a long time since those guys have been good. Okay, Buck, thank you very much. And when we come back, Santa makes another appearance, but this time he leaves the reindeers and the sleigh at home. Don't go away, please. Group of retarded kids from our area went to a Christmas party today. They got together at Oak Brook Square, where they were entertained by well-known ventriloquist Jimmy Nelson. They sang Christmas carols, also made some Christmas ornaments, which will be sold to the public. All the proceeds, of course, going to the retarded. And naturally, Santa will visit the kids on Christmas Eve, but he's already made his deliveries to the Dreher Park Zoo, believe it or not. Santa brought presents for all the four-legged kids, the animals, who, by the way, have their very own Christmas tree this year. Some area school children also help Santa pass out the presents to the birds and the beasts. People at the zoo say they're encouraging visitors to bring presents to the animals this year. Fruits or other appropriate food items will do nicely, thank you. And there were no reindeer or sleighs in the Palm Beach Gardens area tonight, but Santa Claus still managed to make an appearance. The jolly fellow in his red suit instead rode into town in a fire truck. He was greeted by local residents who had turned out to light the town Christmas tree. Music was also provided by the Palm Beach Gardens High Singers. Dozens of wide-eyed children receiving a candy cane up there from Santa tonight. Just a sample of what they hope to find under their tree on Christmas morning. And you two guys are playing in the Astronauts Golf Tournament for the Boys Club tomorrow.
Right.
For those who, at Breakers West, for those who joined us late, what's the weekend weather look like?
Weekend weather looks superb. Blue skies and mild temperatures, and a good day to come out and watch us play golf. In fact, we're playing with the space shuttle captain tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah.
Good day to hit the golf ball in the water, right?
Absolutely.
You guys have been known to do.
It floats.
Yeah, not a bad one. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. That's Action News for tonight. For Glenn Burns, Buck Kennard, everyone behind the scenes, I'm George McKenzie. Good night.